All right, welcome back. Now our GMC tweet of the night. Kenny Pickett, when targeting George Pickens this year, 22 targets, 17 receptions, 223 yards and a touchdown. That Steelers rookie connection has been special. Pickett to Pickens. I mean, I would be looking at him every single play. At some point, Pickett has to start taking over these games. I mean, you feel like he's getting confident. I see it in practice. I see it in games. When they have a feeling that Matt Canada might not be around next year, that he's going to have to start making decisions for himself because this is hurting him. And I go back to your point.
Wait a minute. Time out a second. Hold on. Did you just break news there? You think there's a feeling that Canada won't be around next year? That's the sense you get?
I mean, look, I'm just going by the obvious perception. I mean, like some of the – no, I'm not breaking any news here. I haven't heard anything. Just from being around the team and hearing things that, Tomlin just said in his news conference today that, jet sweeps don't work anymore and things like that he's not there yet. Well, it leads me to that's close to saying like he's not happy with this offense. And can you be happy with 10 points a game? I don't even know what they're averaging. 13 points, 14 points a game, worse than the NFL. Everyone should be fired on offense if that's the case. I mean, this is the second straight year of just a bad, horrible offense, and you can go back into 2020 of it looking this bad. And they got rid of him. You would think that would be the obvious choice, right? I mean, you have to believe. And I go back to what you were saying in the first segment, Pony. At some point, you're hurting Kenny Pickett, your future franchise quarterback, right? I mean, you have another year of this guy, and then you're going to bring someone else in. If they do that again next year, at some point you got to make the change.
Well, and I'll tell you another thing. I think we all thought none of this mattered because the offensive line was going to be so bad, it wasn't going to give the offense a chance. Guess what? The offensive line has been adequate. I'm not going to say great. I won't even say good, but it's been okay. It's not acceptable for them to be at the bottom of the league in scoring offense and just say, well, their line isn't good enough. No, their line has been decent, probably about middle of the road in the NFL, which should still allow for their playmakers to do better. Najee Harris, again, 65 yards, 3.9 yards per carry, no more steel plate in his cleat. He's got to be better, and he's not. They're not getting good return on that investment right now. Part of it is Canada play calling. Again, not good enough. The way that he implements the run game, it's always a 1st and 10 run. They always do that. So, yes, but some players have to rise above the play calling, especially guys who, like Najee Harris, are in their second year in a first-round pick. Those are when guys at that position are supposed to take off and be great.
It makes you wonder. I mean, you look at these running backs in the NFL. Josh Jacobs, much rather have him. Najee Harris is supposed to be a star, an elite running back right now. I mean, he's supposed to make that offensive line better, and he's not. You're right. The offensive line was a problem.
Think about this, and think about what you just said about that, Richie. I know they got behind.
Yeah.
They got down in that game. They were down. They were down 2 scores, but it was still the first half. Kenny Pickett had to throw the ball 44 times. Go back and look at Ben's rookie year. He never threw the ball more than 30 times. I'm not saying we need to go back to ground and pound and run at every play, but there's no fear in the opposing defensive minds that the running back is going to beat them. Like the Steelers have a running back that almost single-handedly, like Barry Sanders back in Detroit in the day, that there's a running back on the other side that's going to beat them. They're not scared or alarmed or frightened by that whatsoever. And there should be a threat based on where he was drafted and, frankly, how he played last year.
The Steelers had that running back, Le'Veon Bell. I'm going to get to a call here real quick, but you mentioned the offensive line was supposed to be the problem this year. I always thought that you kept Matt Canada around because this was an experimental year because you weren't planning on playing Pickett. You were planning on playing Trubisky, and you wanted to see how things go, and then you make the change next year, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback. So I guess we'll see what happens. But now let's go to our number one Cochran call of the night. My new hometown, Plum Borough. Dano, what's up, Dano?
Hey, guys, I just wanted to say pretty much what you're saying, Matt Canada. Kenny Pickett's running uphill. All they do is give it to Najee for 2 or 3 yards and then throw inside the sticks on the sidelines. And I just don't get it. And I called 75% of that game to my wife every time. I said they're going to give it to Najee, they're going to throw it to, and and it was the hardest game I ever had to watch, and I was at the miracle play.
Thanks a lot, Dano. Hey, when Dano from Plumboro knows the plays, don't you think the defensive coordinator from the other team knows the plays? I mean, do you think you could find
there
one
aren't many
person
to choose from? Dan Orlovsky said they run only 10 plays, so it's not that hard to figure out what they're doing. It's pretty basic.
Can you find one person in Pittsburgh that might be happy with Matt Canada right now? I mean, say you and I went out in the street, walked around, well, other than Mike Tomlin, one fan. You think we could find one person in Pittsburgh?
Look, offensive coordinators are always unpopular and controversial because everybody out there thinks they can call plays. Everybody's played Madden. Everybody's played high school football. They think they can do that job. So I get that. That comes with the territory. But he's the laughingstock of the NFL. People that break down film for a living who coached and played in the NFL look at this offense and say, this isn't even, it worked 1 year at Pitt. It's a college offense at best. It's easy to figure out. It doesn't translate to the pros. Everybody is saying it. Heck, even guys in that locker room are pretty much saying it, Richie, in the way they talk about their offensive failures. So there's when everyone looks at your offense and says, no, this is not cutting the mustard here, Mike Tomlin is kidding himself if he thinks that this guy is going to put Kenny Pickett and the Steelers in a position to win beyond this year.
Let's go out to Rich in Lower Borough. How you doing, Rich?
Hi, Rich.
Hey, how you doing, Pony? How you doing there, Richie? I'm sort of piggybacking on what Pony said earlier in defense of Pickett, in the sense that, back in the day, there were like 3 or 4 preseason games that you got a chance to kind of rev up and get ready for the regular season. Well, these past several games for Pickett has been his preseason. And so he's slowly catching on, slowly making his way through it. And I think he's doing a well of a job considering everything he's had to put up with thrown at him without much preparation.
All right, Rich, I'm not going to disagree with you here. I mean, he had a preseason. Pickett was the one guy that had a really good preseason.
No, but he didn't play with any starters. He played with all bums.
I get it. I said, just my fault. I don't think there's many people out there criticizing Kenny Pickett. I like that he's out there throwing the ball and trying to win games. I think everyone's criticizing the offense. This offense not scoring points. They have talent.
Well,
they claim they have. We see it, and they also in that locker room claim they have talent. Deontay Johnson at one point called this the best receiving corps in the NFL.
Well, he's nuts. He's not lived up to his contract. He got paid. I think he's been a disappointment. The defensive back for the Dolphins on that last play did a better job of getting 2 feet in bounds on the interception than Johnson's done all season long. He could have learned something from watching the film back from that play. I think Najee, as we touched on, the Liz Frank injury, he hasn't been the same guy. I think Chase Claypool, outside of that fourth quarter against the Bucks, has been a bust. I'd trade him, and I'd trade him right now, Richie. I got no qualms with trading Chase Claypool to a team that needs a wide receiver.
I don't think you get much for him. That's the problem. You're not going to get a second-round draft pick. I would trade him for that.
There's a report out there that Tennessee would take him for a second.
Well, then they should do it. All right, we're going to take a break. Back with maybe more of your phone calls. Some of your tweets coming up next. Stay right there.